From the Jennings Communication Building on the campus of Dixie State University, this is Trailblazer Weekly, starring Carrick Segmeller and Drayson Ball.
Welcome inside the Jennings Communication Building on the campus of Dixie State University in beautiful St. George, Utah. It is time for another exciting edition of Trailblazer Weekly. We are live on CEC TV, Radio Dixie 91.3 FM, and the Dixie State Athletics YouTube page. I'm Carrick Segmeller, joined as always by Drayson Ball, and we have got a show for you today. Football, giving the number 8 team in the country all it could handle, nearly pulling the upset on the road. Both men's and women's basketball has open play, including the first triple-double in NCAA Division II era for Dixie State basketball, men or women. We'll talk to Jack Pagankoff on the show. Drayson, we've got a loaded show today, and I cannot wait to get things going. We're going to have some debates back and forth a little bit. We're going to have a lot of fun with today's episode.
It's going to be really fun, and, we had a jam-packed week of sports, and, we had a lot of fun going on the road to Denver the other last weekend to see the Trailblazers did fall to the number 8 team in the country, but, man, it was a heck of a game. They gave them all they could handle. And then, of course, we got Jack Pagankoff on the show, who this is actually really exciting for me. I'm really, really pumped to be able to talk to him later on in the show. First triple-double ever recorded in the NCAA Division II era for Dixie State, so I'm going to be excited to talk to him. And then we also got DeJuan Dantzler, now the all-time leader in pass reception yards for Dixie State in the Division II era. We're going to talk to him as well. Going to be a great show.
Absolutely great show on tap, and we do not want to waste any more time setting it up. We're going to dive right into it. We're going to start things off the way we always do with our weekend observations.
It's time for Carrick and Drayson's Weekend Observations.
Indeed, it is time for our weekend observations. We start our show this way every single week, and I'm going to start things off today. My weekend observation is simple, and it's this, Drayson. There has got to be a better way to determine a winner in a soccer match in the postseason than a penalty kick shootout.
Ouch.
And no, I'm not just saying that because the Dixie State women's soccer team lost in a penalty shootout last week in the RMAC quarterfinals in Golden, Colorado. Of course, that's what got me thinking about it. But I've seen it happen other times. I'm a big fan of Real Salt Lake, the professional Major League Soccer team in Salt Lake City. They're the benefactors of 2 penalty kick shootout wins in the 2009 playoffs in the run that saw Real Salt Lake win the MLS Cup in 2009. They lost on a penalty kick shootout in the MLS Cup in 2013. So no, it's not just the women's soccer team losing that has me thinking about this. It's been on my mind already. Are you telling me that there is no better way to determine the winner in a postseason sporting event? Yes, a postseason sporting event when there's a conference tournament championship on the line. There's no better way to determine a winner than a guessing game. Is that what you're telling me?
Well,
why don't we bust out the matching picture cards and go sit at midfield and play a game of memory for the opportunity to advance in the RMAC tournament?
Here's what you got to understand about the penalty kicks and what they mean. It's not like a sport like basketball where there's so much scoring. There's just by chance playing enough overtimes, they're not going to end in the final score at some point. You don't have that same luxury necessarily with soccer, with being it so. There's not very much scoring, so you have to determine a way at that point in the game. After you've played 90 minutes of regulation play, you have 2 10-minute overtime periods. At that point, at the end of those 110 minutes of almost 2 hours of play, you've determined these teams are evenly matched. There has to be some other way besides the actual rules and regulations of the regular gameplay. There has to be some other way that we can determine which team is better. And that's what they came up with, and that's what the rule is, and that's what what else are you suggesting? There has to be a way of determining.
You play until somebody scores.
And see,
if you need to play in 10-minute chunks and take a 2-minute break every 10 minutes, then that's fine. But you play until somebody scores.
And I think they did that in the olden days, but the game lasted like 4 days.
I was looking at it, it was like, I think, even as recent as like the 70s that these shootouts really started to take effect. And you know what? It's time. The National Hockey League, NHL, do they have a shootout in the postseason?
Yeah.
No, they don't. they play until someone scores the golden goal.
Fair enough.
So anyway, that's my weekend observation, and I know that's just the way it's done now. That's the way it's done. Professional soccer, NCAA soccer, and so you can't be mad at the rules. But maybe it's time to start to figure out a better way. There's got to be a better way.
How about you come up with a solution, outline a blueprint, and then suggest it to the National
FIFA
Soccer Committee, whoever is in charge of that. My weekend observation is much more rational, and it has to do with what I alluded to start the show with Jack Pagenkoff and his triple-double against UT Tyler in their victory this last weekend on Saturday, and what a heck of an accomplishment. We saw this a couple seasons ago. Trevor Hill was the closest one that we've seen in recent memory to come close to this feat. I think he came an assist shy about 2 years ago or so.
I think he's still mad at us.
I think he's still mad
for not having that last assist.
He came one assist shy, but Jack Pagenkoff actually recorded a triple-double, 17 points, 13 rebounds, and 10 assists in that 191 thrilling victory in overtime against UT Tyler on Saturday evening. Not only that, Jack Pagenkoff actually hit the game-tying three with 7 seconds remaining in that game to send it to overtime, 84-84. It was 81-84 at that point. He went down. We'll have to ask him about that later in the show. We went down, and he hit the ball. He hit the game-tying three to send that game into overtime.
Deep too,
and then got the 10th assist there in overtime to record the triple-double: 17 points, 13 rebounds, 10 assists. Tremendous accomplishment for him.
Incredible. I don't know that that's much more rational than that's awesome and it's spectacular.
Of course, it's more rational.
Rational. I mean,
get off your soapbox.
There's got to be a
Come
better
on
way.
now.
There's got to be a better way. Those are our weekend observations here on Trailblazer Weekly. We start the show that way each and every Wednesday. So be on the lookout. Dixie State Athletics. We essentially look for something that jumped out at us over the weekend. May it be the best thing we saw, or maybe something that we feel like needs to be changed, just like the soccer rule of having a penalty kick shootouts. I got the last word in. Let's talk about football. We transitioned to football field. We mentioned it as we were teasing what was going to be in the show, and then the remaining 6 minutes of this segment. Dixie State football travels to Golden, Colorado, with an opportunity to keep its playoff hopes alive. They take on the number 8 ranked Orediggers inside Marv K Stadium, and boy, did they give Colorado School of Mines a game. Trailblazers led 17-7 at the half. So that's why I have, first thing on my notes that I have here, Drayson, is that Colorado Mines kind of flipped the script a little bit on Dixie State. And the way I mean that is that Dixie State was 4-2 overall when trailing at halftime. Now, that doesn't mean that they want to trail at halftime and have to come back. That's not what they want. Obviously, the ideal situation is to have that lead at halftime, at third quarter, and to go on and continue to win. But Dixie State led 17-7 at halftime, and they had the script flipped on them a little bit. Colorado School of Mines, credit the Orediggers, made some big plays on third down, on fourth down, made interceptions in the end zone, recovered fumbles. They just made enough of those plays in the second half that Dixie State was not able to keep pace. Obviously, losing your quarterback midway through that second half doesn't help, but you kind of felt like Dixie State in that second half had that script flipped a little bit from what they're used to the rest of the season.
Yeah, and you said it. They just had a few little things. I thought this was one of the best games the Trailblazers had played all season, regardless of the opponent, regardless of the outcome. One of the big things we talked about on last week's show is that you need to almost play perfect in order to beat a team like this, and by God, they just about did it. And what I mean by that, they only had 2 penalties the entire game. They had 1 penalty throughout the first 3 quarters, and then got that second penalty on kind of a questionable call, if you want to ask both of us. They got that second penalty about midway through that fourth quarter, but up to that point, they had done an excellent job, and I got to give my hats off. I've been frustrated, as well as you have, and probably many others, with the amount of penalties that the Trailblazers have racked up over the first 9 games of the season up to this point. They buttoned down all the hatches, and they took care of business there. However, I say they almost played a perfect game. They did have a few costly mistakes. We talked about the interception in the end zone. It was not a terrible throw, but it was just maybe a more poor decision. Keaton Mott threw into double coverage there in the back of the end zone. Wasn't a horrible throw. Wasn't a really bad decision, but did throw it into double coverage there. The interceptor, the defensive back made a great play there. Almost kind of was like
turned into receiver almost.
Caught it in the back of the end zone. It was a great play. It was a really good play. Let's not discount it at all. Maybe just not a great decision throwing it into double coverage. The other one was the fumble on the return that led to the touchdown later on. Also, the late hit penalty that I mentioned earlier. And again, if you wanna call that a questionable call, you can do so. But it was a marked penalty against the Trailblazers, and one of the mistakes that led to their ultimate demise. Losing that game, 35-27. But you know what? I thought they can hang their hat on those types of improvements, if not anything else. They played very, very well defensively, and you know what? Some awesome numbers that I'll go ahead and make this our Rock Canyon Bank by the numbers feature for today's episode. Coming into the game, Mines was only allowing opponents 13 points per game. The Trailblazers put up 27 points. Rush yards per game. Mines was only allowing opponents to rush for 47 yards a game. Trailblazers rushed for 93 yards per game. Passing. Mines was only allowing opponents 188 pass yards per game. The Trailblazers put up a remarkable 354 passing yards in that game. Total offense. Mines was only allowing opponents 235 yards of total offense. The Trailblazers outgained Colorado School of Mines with 447 yards of total offense compared to just 403 yards of total offense for Colorado School of Mines, who averages 500 points of total offense. So Dixie State did better than anyone else that ever played against these guys the whole season, and they did it in such a fashion where they had a chance to win that game late in the fourth quarter, and that's all you can really ask for going against a tough team in Colorado School of Mines.
Well, Drayson just said everything that I was going to say, so we can run to break. No, I'm just kidding. We've got 2 minutes left before we run to break, but you hit literally everything that I had on my notes here that I was going to say. They were nearly perfect, and they needed to play perfect in order to win that football game, and they played Mines tougher than anybody has throughout the season. Now, if you go talk to Coach Peterson and everyone wearing a white jersey with red pants in that game, moral victories aren't going to cut it. They wanted that win. They wanted the D2 playoffs, and that's what I love about this team is that they're not satisfied even when in the midst of a 6-game win streak, they're not satisfied. They want to do more. And so they have an opportunity this Saturday to kind of bounce back, and it's on senior day, and those seniors want to leave a lasting impression on this crowd, on this school. They want to leave their legacy here. And really, for those 4-year seniors, and even 5 years if they've redshirted, and who I'm thinking of right now, it's DeJuan Dantzler, who we're going to have on the show. I'm thinking of CJ Luongo, who came in as a freshman. I'm thinking of Alex Lilliard, who came in as a freshman. Some of their teammates that came in with them some of those years, and that's their choice, their prerogative to do so. Some of them left when the coaching change happened, and that's their choice, and I'm not judging that choice at all. These guys chose to stay here, and so you got guys like CJ Luongo, Alex Lilliard, DeJuan Dantzler, that are going to have an opportunity to suit up one more time on this field and leave a legacy on Trailblazer Stadium Field, and to try to go out and get that record 8th win, and I think they'll be able to do so this Saturday against Adams State. We're running out of time in this segment, so we want to go to our Campus Store Player of the Week, and it is going to be DeJuan Dantzler this week. 10 catches, 234 yards receiving, and a touchdown. He will join us next on the show, but boy, I think there's one school that's really glad that DeJuan Dantzler is a senior, and if he wasn't a senior, that Dixie State is going D1. It's Colorado School of Mines, because this guy over the last 2 years has gone for almost a combined 600 yards receiving and 4 touchdowns over those 2 games. Something about Mines that they're able to find and get him in the right spots, and his hands have like glue on them, and throwing the ball, he's going to catch it. He makes great plays, and he is our Campus Store Player of the Week this week. Speaking of DeJuan Dantzler, he is going to join us next on Trailblazer Weekly. We'll talk to him about Saturday's game, about that great performance, and about being able to suit up one final time in front of the home crowd inside Trailblazer Stadium. We're back with DeJuan Dantzler right after this timeout.
Radio Dixie 91.3. We don't play that. Nope, not that. A big fat no there. That's what we play. And stuff like that. On St. George's only alternative, Radio Dixie 91.3. Oh, and from 9 till midnight, we play this. I need a one dance. And this. Radio Dixie 91.3 FM.
For over a century, Dixie State University has been shaping the trailblazers of tomorrow by providing a culture of active learning, active life. With a paradigm of real-world experience mixed with cutting-edge technologies and rich traditions, we provide one of the most affordable educations in the West, set against the most stunning backdrop on the planet.
All right, man. Need you to go deep.
All right, I'll catch this one, I promise. Post route, back of the end zone.
Got it. Let's do it.
We may not always play good, but when we want to look good, we come to the Dixie State Campus Store.
Located on the second floor of the Gardner Center. We'll see you there.
Today's show is brought to you by the Dixie State Campus Store, the official source for DSU Trailblazer clothing, providing students with textbooks as well as educational, office, and art supplies. Located on the second floor of the Gardner Center, the Dixie State Campus Store, proud sponsor of Trailblazer Weekly.
Welcome back inside Studio A inside the Jennings Communication Building. It's Trailblazer Weekly, live on a Wednesday afternoon on Radio Dixie 91.3 FM, CEC TV, and on the Dixie State Athletics YouTube page. Continuing to talk about football as senior receiver DeJuan Dantzler joins us on Trailblazer Weekly. And DeJuan, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. You got team meetings coming up in just a little bit. You got one more regular season game and one more opportunity to suit up in front of the home crowd coming up, and that will be exciting on Saturday. Thanks so much for being on the show with us today.
I appreciate you guys having me.
And we appreciate you and all the other student athletes that put in all the time and effort to put on a good show for us week in and week out. I mean, we've said it before and kind of joked, but half serious too. Without you guys putting in the work you put in, we don't have a job and we don't have a show, and we just appreciate all you student athletes do. Let's talk about this game on Saturday. You and I were just talking during the break, actually, and everybody wanted to leave that stadium with a win. I mean, and that obviously the clear-cut goal. You guys came in, you had a halftime lead. Obviously, come up just a little bit short, but man, what a fantastic game of football! It was a great atmosphere. Where does that rank in terms of most fun football games that you've played? And obviously, I know the ones last year, probably when you beat Colorado School of Mines was better, but that was a great environment. Had to have been a fun game to play in still.
I think it would have to be 2 or 3 behind last year's game in Grand Valley as far as how fun it was. But, yeah, it was a fun one. I feel like we really came out ready to play, so it was definitely fun. Just one too many mistakes on the second half. So,
what is it about Colorado School of Mines that enables you to have big games? I mean, you look at last year's game and you go for over 240 yards and Drayson and I were at that game on Saturday, and we're calling the game and thinking, man, he might break his own record here and go for the single game record again. What it is about matching up against Colorado School of Mines that your team's able to put you in good spots and quarterback's able to get you the ball and help you have those good games?
I think it's really the game plan that coach prepares when we play them. I think just the way we match up as a receiver group against their DBs, I think they always find a loophole where we could shine.
Yeah, absolutely, and certainly 2 big games, over 240 yards last year and then 234 yards on Saturday with a touchdown and a couple of real long runs after the catch as well. One thing that we noticed was there was no shortage of big plays kind of across the middle. You talk about the game plan and your coaches getting you in those right spots. Was that kind of the game plan going in, that you guys saw something that, hey, we can run these 10 or 15-yard slant routes, or they get you across the middle and then we have room to run? Was that the game plan going in? Because you were making a living on those across the middle plays all game long on Saturday.
Really, what we ran in the game, we practiced it all week, and I just knew I had to make 1 or 2 guys miss and I could go. So I really mentally focused on that all week, just making 1 or 2 guys miss, and the opportunity will be there.
Of course, we're seeing your touchdown run, your catch and run right there, and incredible play that was. But yeah, DeJuan Dantzler and the Dixie State receivers had tons of success across the middle on Saturday.
Yeah, not only that, I mean, 10 receptions, 234 yards, 1 touchdown. It was not just DeJuan Dantzler, but it was everyone. It seemed like, what was it about the offense? I just mentioned a few numbers ago. I'm not sure if you heard those numbers in the back, but this was a really good defense coming into the game. 47 rush yards per game, 188 pass yards per game, 288 something or other yards per game allowed total. You guys smashed through all those defensive stats. You got 27 points. They only allow 13 points to opponents. What were you guys doing offensively that just allowed you to be able to break all those kind of numbers that they've established throughout the first 9 games of the season?
I think we really did what we always do. I think there was a different level of focus that week, though. I think we really came to play. The big fellas up front really came to play, I feel like, and I think that was a big difference too. Like Keaton having enough time, or the quarterbacks having enough time to get us the ball makes a big difference. And then, CJ always does his thing, and the backs always do their thing too. So I think we really it was more of the mental focus towards that game, I feel like, made the difference.
And what were you guys' mindset? I mean, obviously, you I think we mentioned on the broadcast, we're not sure that Mainz has ever trailed in a game all season, let alone trail at halftime, as you guys were leading that game at the half. What was your kind of mindset as you went into halftime? You realized you were playing very well, you were moving the ball very well, you were stopping what they did best, which was just run the football and run it some more, and you were limiting that to a pretty good in the first half. What was your mindset coming out of halftime to continue to have success?
Really just keep doing what we do. We really wanted to avoid penalties this game, so I know the emphasis was on that. And we really wanted to keep the same game plan, keep staying consistent. I think we just made one too many mistakes on the back end, and they started adding up on us. So, chatting
with Dixie State redshirt senior receiver DeJuan Dancer. You've been here 5 years. This is year 5, and I'm going to tell you what. We'll get into senior day and stuff here in just a few minutes, but I've been here with you each of those years, and it seems like it has just flown by. It doesn't feel like that long. Maybe to you, you're out putting in the work each day, and it probably feels that long to you. But he's been here at Dixie State making plays since day one. And speaking of that, it's given you an opportunity to get on the field. I don't know if you're aware or if you've seen your 234-yard game actually put you at the top of the Dixie State career receiving yards record. So last year you broke the single game record against Colorado School of Mines. Right now you're sitting, I believe through the math, 2,049 career yards and just knocking off Kaiser Christensen, who was a 4-year guy himself from 2006. So he was the one of the original D2 guys, and he came in as a freshman and then played till 2010. And now you're sitting atop a couple of those lists. And of course, it's not all about numbers and individual numbers. It's a team game. But what does that mean to you to know that, man, I've come in and I put in that time and I'm leaving my name on this Dixie State football program?
I didn't really know that. When I broke the record last year, I wasn't even paying attention to the fact that I broke the record. I'm so in the game. But no, that's exciting, man. That's news to me, So I'm excited to see what my parents got to say about it.
Yeah. So and you get one more week to be able to add to that in the game against Adams State on Saturday. Let's look back over this season. Obviously, it's your senior season. What's it been like to be part of this team? Because this team has got to be probably the most different team of any of the other college teams, just because naturally with the coaching staff change and a few other players coming in, just that not only was there the task of, hey, a new season, but you've got to learn a little new system, you've got new teammates, you've got new coaches, you got to, it's like freshman year all over again. You got to rebuild that chemistry. What's it been like to be part of this team and that it has been able to put all that behind them and come together and continue to win and continue to build on the winning tradition that was already set here?
To be completely honest, it was kind of hard to adjust at first. I think when it came to football and the X's and O's, they made it real simple to just worry about that. But it was hard to adjust at first. But once we got going, I felt like you could feel it, We were starting to come together. I wish I had more time to really build some chemistry and, build something great. But, you could tell we started catching our stride towards the end, at least offensively, chemistry-wise, But it was tough at first, I'm not going to lie.
Which is to be expected. I mean, That's a big change. Right. That's a big change. And you guys have handled it wonderfully, especially with, the situation with, Abe passing away in the spring, and you guys have just right from the start have had a lot of adversity. You've worked through that. It's been incredible to watch you guys this season. Incredible season.
And not only that, it's always tough to switch coaching staffs in the middle of your career here at Dixie State, and to say not only you had a great season this year, but you had a great season last year where you set the all-time wins record in the Division II era. You've already done that this season with a chance to improve that record. So I mean, not only have you put on the on-field stats of all receiving yards in a game, receiving yards through a career here at Dixie State, but you've also been a part of 2 programs and 2 teams that have set own records for themselves and records as far as the program goes, and you have a chance to improve that on Saturday. What's it been like for you to know that you've laid a great foundation here as a senior, and now as they move into Division I next year, you've laid a great foundation here in the RMAC to where you've had back-to-back seasons where you've matched the highest amount of wins record?
I'm excited, man. It's excited to be able to have that momentum going into there. That's why I'm so excited about Saturday. I hope we could get that 8th win. Just to send them with some momentum going D1. But it's just been fun being here, building the relationships that I've had with the last coaching staff, this coaching staff now, Coach Brumfield's coaching staff, you know, so I think that's been my favorite part, the relationships I've been able to build and the brotherhood I've had with all my teammates before and my teammates now, you know.
And of course, you've been a part of the program for 5 seasons now. You redshirted, and of course now you're a senior. And so, how would you maybe go back and summarize your time here at Dixie State? Through the ups and the downs, through the adversity, and culminating last year, obviously with your 7th win, the win over Mines, and this season you got off to a great start. And how would you kind of just summarize your entire 5 years here at Dixie State?
Man,
Maybe we don't have enough time for all that.
Man, I've learned so much about myself. Being at school here, I really enjoyed the school here. That was a hard adjustment at first for me, but I really enjoyed going to school here. I feel like I learned a lot. I learned a lot from the people that have guided me to the point I'm at now, you know. And I'm excited for the future, not only for myself, but for a lot of people that are around me right now, including all my teammates, you know. I'm excited for their future. I'm excited for my other seniors' future, just to see where we end up and to be able to come back, you know. I'm excited for that too. But I wish I could summarize it for you. It's been a mission, you know. It's been a grind out here.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Coach Brumfield because it really sparked you're probably the only person that's part of this team that has played under 3 different coaches. Yeah. Here at Dixie State, you were redshirt, and so you learned under Coach Brumfield and Coach McClure, and now Coach Peterson as well. You've put in your time, you've earned everything that you've received here at Dixie State University. Do you think back of those 5 years and all the fun, exciting games that you've been in, do you have a favorite memory out on the field here at Dixie State? I know that's putting you on the spot, making you go over 40 games, and do you have a favorite memory that you can think back on the spot? Out there on the field?
On the spot, it would have to be probably when we broke the winning record last year as a team. Just being able to celebrate, it was a long road. That was fun, though. I remember that bus trip like it was yesterday. It was so easy to ride home, It was a fun game. It was a fun celebration when we got home, I think that would have to be one of my favorites.
Of course, now it's exciting as you get a chance to do that again, on Saturday.
And not only that, do it at home as well.
Right. Do it at home.
Right.
You don't have to ride a bus. Right. Forget the bus ride. You can go and you have the celebration, you have fun without the bus ride. You've caught a number of touchdown passes here in your career, so let's stay on the theme of favorite. Do you have a favorite touchdown catch that you can think back of over your time? And there's been a lot of them, I know, so that's hard.
I can't think of one off the top of my head.
Let's do this. Let's play this game with you. Do you remember your first touchdown catch here at Dixie State University?
I remember it like it was yesterday. Do you remember? Yeah.
Okay. We've got the film of it. Let's roll this tape. I want you to think what's going through your mind on this play.
Sell the block and catch the ball. I knew I would be wide open. I just knew I had to catch it and don't get caught.
And for those of you radio listeners that are listening right now, you can't see the replay that's running. This was the famous halfback pass. This was the first game that both C.J. Luongo and DeJuan Dantzler had played in at Dixie State University, and they hooked up for the game-winning touchdown. It was in the third quarter, but it ended up to be the game winner. It was a 21-14 final over New Mexico Highlands. And Tyson Blackner, the quarterback at the time, he swung it out to his left. C.J. Luongo, the left-handed running back, makes the catch and then throws it downfield to a wide-open DeJuan Dantzler who scampers into the end zone. That was his first career touchdown catch. And, who'd have thought you'd make your first career touchdown catch from a running back? But
right.
Whatever it takes to win, right? I just remember seeing that play. I was on the call for that play. And I was thinking about it today as we we're getting ready for the show. That it's just incredible that it was CJ that threw you that pass because you've been together all 4 years together. And I'm sure that touchdown has stuck with you throughout your career.
Definitely. Now, I think about it all the time. I've caught touchdown passes from more quarterbacks than I've had coaches here, So just having a running back touchdown too, just to add under is a good feeling.
Well, there's just something about a trick play, right? And when it's executed successfully, that just feels just awesome to be able to do that. And that was his first career touchdown pass. He's had many more, and including one on Saturday last week, and hope to be able to find the end zone a couple of times this weekend. We'll run out of time on the segment, Duan, but we appreciate you stopping by the studio. It's been an absolute honor and a blast to watch you play over these last 4 years, and excited to be able to do it at home one more time on Saturday.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for joining us on the show today. We've got to take a break. Speaking of that Adams State game, the Grizzlies come in to try to take on the Trailblazers on Saturday. We'll break that game down, let you know what to expect, what are the tendencies offensively and defensively for this Adams State team. We'll break it all down coming up next on Trailblazer Weekly.
You know, we may have started out small, but we were great. Families and fans rallied behind their team. The community cared, and everyone showed up to cheer. Now, we're bigger than ever. Dixie State is going to Division I.
Here we go in transition, and he throws it down with one hand. Lobs. Catch me. Touchdown, Trailblazer.
But at the end of the day, it's the community and fans that make us great. Whether you give $5 or $1,000, every dollar, every seat in the stands, every one of you can help blaze our trail to Division I athletics, because this is our team.
I take the road less traveled, run free, unwind, unravel, someplace outside with lots to do. Green trees, red rocks, and don't forget that blue sky. The sunshine shining, sunshine pouring on me. Think I might just stay a while. Say hooray all day because the sun is gonna shine on me. Sun is gonna shine on me. Sun's gonna shine on me.
Awkward. I'm the awkward silence. You try to avoid me, then there I am again.
But an awkward silence can be a great thing.
Like Kelly here is about to demonstrate.
You haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
Welcome back inside Trailblazer Weekly as we continue on a Wednesday afternoon live in the Jennings Communication Building in Studio A. We are live on CEC-TV, Radio Dixie on 91.3 FM, and the Dixie State Athletics YouTube page as well as Facebook Live. So thank you so much for joining us, however you may be listening or watching today's show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Great interview.
Great interview with Duan.
Dantzler.
So much fun.
Incredible. I love, and like I said, I just really respect these guys that are four-year seniors that stayed, that decided to play here even through the coaching change, and they've left and are leaving their legacy on this program, and Duan Dantzler is one of them. And you're not going to meet a more humble guy than Duan Dantzler as well, someone who's come in and has been a star here on this Dixie State offense with, like he said, too many quarterbacks to count, different head coaches, different offensive coordinators. You know, you've got different schemes, and through it all, he's risen to the top and has been a star and a leader for this team. And I really appreciated his interview, and it was just fun listening to him and fun reviewing that play and reminiscing over that halfback pass touchdown from C.J. Luongo to Duan Dantzler.
And one thing that he's certainly been able to master in his time here at Dixie State is catch and run. Just
catch and
run.
The ball and
run. Over 2,000.
Maybe they'll pull that play out again on Saturday.
Maybe that's not a bad idea. Send the tape. Send the tape. Peterson. They can do that exact same
can
play.
We make this happen?
And hopefully no Adams State coaches or anything are watching us right now.
Wouldn't it be awesome if that was his first career touchdown pass and then his last career touchdown pass?
Well, let's just make sure it's in the fourth quarter and we have a sizable lead that we can make sure that we
Let's run in the first quarter.
Well, we don't want to be the last because we want to catch multiple touchdown passes throughout the game. But over 2,000 yards receiving in his career at Dixie State, quite a remarkable accomplishment for Duan Dantzler. Thanks so much for him for joining today's show. But we need to march on and talk about the upcoming matchup this weekend that the Trailblazers will face against Adams State University, a team that comes in 4-6 overall, 4-5 in the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference. And, this was the same situation we had last year. Well, not maybe the exact same situation we had last year, going into Adams State with a chance to accomplish the 7 win totals at that point in the season last year. You had just defeated Colorado School of Mines. And you were going on the road to Adams State to try to get to 7 wins, and the Trailblazers now in a similar situation. welcome in Adams State this weekend with a chance to get to 8 wins, and the most they've ever had in the Division II era before leaving Division II and leaping into Division I next season. But 4-16, 4-5 in the RMAC, and a team that kind of like we've talked about earlier. Team you feel like you should have a pretty good chance against on paper, but you still got to go out and you still got to play the game.
Yeah, and there's been a number of those games this season, and I guess you could call this, what's at stake this week, and you pretty much just set the table there and laid that all out. The Trailblazers with an opportunity to get to 8 wins, which is would be a program record for wins in a single season. And you and I said this in the first segment, and we knew that, and DeJuan expressed this sentiment perfectly, with Coach Peterson, with his staff, with these players, there's no moral victories. They felt great about the way they played on Saturday, but ultimately they lost the football game, and that left a sour taste in their mouths, and they're going to want to rid their mouths of that taste on Saturday with an opportunity against Adams State. So that's what's at stake, is an opportunity for the most wins in a single season to make this one of the most special seasons this Trailblazer program has seen in the Division II era. And what a better time when you're transitioning to Division I to continue to lay that groundwork, to continue to show potential recruits out there that this football program is on the rise, and this is something that you want to be a part of. How about Adams State? The Grizzlies come in 4-6 overall, 4-5 in the RMAC. They had a great start to the season. This has been an offense that over the last few years, this is a team that has been able to put up lots of points on you. They can throw the ball. They're if you want to look at them offensively first, a very pass-heavy team. If you look at their number of passing attempts, 453 passing attempts so far this season for the Grizzlies, and that's up against 368 rushing attempts. So almost 100 more passing plays than running plays for this Adams State team, and it all starts with Buksa, the quarterback.
Yeah, no, and he's a good quarterback, and it's also almost funny that this is almost the exact opposite of the team we faced last week, in the sense that last week Mines ran 60% of their plays as run plays and 40% of their plays as pass plays, and this is just almost the opposite. More pass plays than run plays, and Buksa, he's a good quarterback, and he's thrown for over 2,000 yards this season. In fact, almost 2,500 yards
and
this
20
season.
touchdowns.
And he's thrown 20 touchdowns. The interesting thing to note about Buksa, 17 interceptions. So almost a 1-to-1 interception to touchdown ratio, which is, breaking news, it's not great. You'd like to have a much higher breaking news, it's not great.
I'm shocked.
1-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, not great for the brand. But a quarterback that can certainly throw the ball very well. Like I said, almost 2,500 passing yards throughout the season, 20 touchdowns. And that's really where they go for their offense. And it's an offense that has been able to move the ball quite effectively all season long. They, all average over 400 yards of total offense per game, and 420 yards of total offense, I should say. And, the thing that they do lack is their defense. They're giving up more points on defense than they're actually scoring. They average 25 points per game on offense and allow 36 points per game defensively. The other interesting note about these guys, they have a horrendous turnover margin. I mean, when I say horrendous, it is like astronomically bad. They are minus 15 in the turnover battle. Bukes has thrown 21 interceptions or 17 interceptions as a team. They've thrown 21 interceptions, lost 4 fumbles, and they've only got 10 takeaways on the season. That's a minus 15 turnover battle. You have to capitalize on that. And I know I've said it multiple times throughout the season for this football team. They have been able to capitalize most of the time, and they've been right around the 0 or +1, +2 turnover margin. But this is a team you have to make them turn the ball over. And if you do that, you're going to have a great chance.
Adams State, again, coming in 4-6 overall, 4-5 in the RMAC. So it'll be an Adams State team that motivated to try to get to 500 in RMAC play. Drayson, you mentioned the Grizzlies defensively, and let's talk specifically about that defense a little bit more. As you look at them, they're a team that they are vulnerable to both the pass and the run. You look at their total defense, and they're giving up about almost 400 yards per game. Total. They're giving up 220 yards passing per game, and they are giving up 165 yards per game on the ground. If you break that down even more, one thing that should be exciting as a head coach and a player, and then as a fan, if you look at this, if you look at the game-by-game breakdown and what opponents have been able to do against Adams State, let's just look at the rushing numbers. I'm just going to read some numbers, and these are different rushing totals that Adams State has given up this year. 233 to Mines, 207 to New Mexico Highlands, 210 to Chadron State, which is a very pass-first offense. They do have a great running back in Miles as well. 216 rushing yards to South Dakota Mines, and then 291 rushing yards given up to Colorado Mesa last week.
Wow.
They've given up some big passing performances as well. So if you're Coach Paul Peterson and this offense, you're kind of licking your chops going into this game a little bit, knowing it's not like last week. I don't have to just almost exclusively throw the ball. I'm looking on senior day for CJ Luongo to have a big game, and as he did last year, he a couple of years ago against Adams State, he set his career high, 187 yards rushing. It wasn't last year; it was the year before, but. This is an opportunity for this Dixie State offense to set up the pass with the run and experience that success in all facets offensively. And that's what you're going to see in this Adams State defense that, like I mentioned, has given up some big pass games as well. So they're vulnerable to both the run and the pass. Dixie State offense should be able to get the ball rolling and get things going offensively.
Yeah, and I expect the same thing too. And right now, the run game has to be a big priority going into this game. We don't know what the Trailblazers are going to have at quarterback. Obviously, Keaton Mott was not able to finish that game last week against Colorado School of Mines.
He's not on the 2 deep.
He's not on the 2 deep.
We should note he's out.
Tanner Hammond is listed as the number 1 on the 2 deep. We don't know the status of Cody Wilstead, so it's in all likelihood, and we're probably expecting Tanner Hammond to start this game. And he's a great guy, and he's a great quarterback, and he can come in and do a good job.
And he'll be just fine.
He'll be just fine. He'll be absolutely just fine. And we talked about this actually away from the set, is that, last week he was put in a really tough situation. They hadn't game planned all week to have Hammond play big-time minutes in that game. He had to come in a pinch. He didn't look great, but I think he's looked good in the past over the times when he's been able to get in. And I think now having a full week of practice time to implement the offense that he can run and that he's capable of executing, I think they're going to have a good opportunity to be able to put him in and have him have a successful game. The run obviously has to be great. A couple weeks ago, we obviously saw CJ Luongo have a huge breakout game. I think 185 yards and a couple of huge runs. 2 weeks ago, last week, he had a pretty good game, even though didn't get over 100 yards, but against a tough rushing defense against Colorado School of Mines, he had a good game there as well. And I'm expecting a very similar situation from CJ Luongo coming into this game, and they got to have a great game plan against this Adams State team.
Yeah, the Adams State is a good football team. They can move the ball, and they can do some good things. And so you have to, and it's just like every other week in this league and in college football. I mean, if you make it to college football, you're a good football player, and they're a good football team. That's your Captain Obvious statement of the day. College football players are good, which means there's good football teams in college football, right? But you can't take a week off in any league, really, but especially here in the RMAC. And Dixie State knows this. And you're coming off a loss for just the third time this season. And the Trailblazers haven't lost 2 games in a row all year. And they certainly don't want their season to end that way. So they'll be ready to go. It's senior day. So come support your seniors on senior day. You've got guys, like I mentioned, there's lots of seniors that will put out a full press release tomorrow on DixieStateAthletics.com and have a list of each of the seniors that will be honored in this game. But I really look at those 4-year guys that have come in, and 5, and DeJuan's case, DeJuan Dantzler, Alex Lilliard, and CJ Luongo, guys like that who have put in their time and really paid their dues and helped lay this foundation. And anyone who's a 4-year senior at this point has more wins under their belt than any other player in this Dixie State football Division II era. They have had 3 of the last 4 seasons have been winning seasons, and that just was not happening before. So it's been fun to see this program grow. Quickly before the break, what does history tell us about this matchup? This will be in the D2 era matchup number 10. Dixie State leading it 5-4. We'll just limit this. That's overall. We'll limit the rest of our analysis to what the Trailblazers have done against the Grizzlies since they've been in the RMAC with the Grizzlies, and Dixie State has won each of those games. A 24-21 thriller, which saw Dixie State win on a walk-off field goal as time expired. Adams State called all 3 timeouts they had to try to ice the kicker. It was Anthony Reyes at the time. He made that field goal. Trailblazers won 24-21. And then the last 2 matchups have been blowouts. Dixie State 54-28 in St. George in 2017, and then 52-10 in Alamosa last year. And hopefully, and that's what the Trailblazers are shooting for, to have a similar type game this weekend. But Adams State will come to play. When you're playing, we've seen this before too, last thought, when you're playing a team that's better, you automatically practice better and you automatically play better. And we saw even with Dixie State against Colorado School of Mines last week. So Adams State will come in and they're looking to play a little bit of a spoiler role here. And Dixie State will have to be on their game. But there are opportunities for big numbers and big things to happen on Saturday if they execute appropriately.
No doubt about it. You can watch it CECTV, channel 108 for you cable viewers. You can watch on Dixie State Stretch Internet Portal and listen live to both Carrick and I on Radio Dixie 91.3 FM.
Looking forward to it. Looking forward to our next segment as well. It's Blazer Beat, and we're throwing in an added element to help us stay on time and to help us really get the most important things out in our Blazer Beat. We're throwing in a timer and a buzzer that will buzz, similar to PTI. If you watch that on ESPN, when that goes off, you got to be done. So you got to get everything you want to say about that topic in before the buzzer sounds. We'll go to our Blazer Beat right after this timeout on Trailblazer Weekly.
Where do you find the titans of classical music in St. George? Classical music on Radio St. George 100.3 FM. Where do you find the legends of jazz? Evenings on Radio St. George 100.3 FM.
Hey guys, how are you today? Good. I'm here to talk about how with technology you can make amazing worlds. Come with me. My team and I groomed the Halo world to life. Is that you? That is me. I wasn't a math genius and I knew nothing about coding. But you guys do. You guys have the power to change things. I want your job. I want you to have my job.
Hey, what's up, man? Hey, good. You played before, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's all state in high school.
Good, let's run some routes. Give me a post route.
All right, let's do it. We may not always play good, but when we want to look good, we come to the Dixie State Campus Store.
Located on the 2nd floor of the Gardner Center. We'll see you there.
Today's show is brought to you by Rock Canyon Bank, serving Utah businesses and agriculture for over 25 years, with locations in Pleasant Grove, Orem, Provo, Spanish Fork, Fillmore, and at 94 East Tabernacle, right here in St. George. Rock Canyon Bank, back to banking. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Welcome back inside Trailblazer Weekly. Carrick Segmiller, Drayson Ball with you on this fabulous Wednesday afternoon. It's time for our Blazer Beat inside Trailblazer Weekly. And what a better way to kick off our Blazer Beat. Now, don't go sounding the buzzer on me yet. The Human Performance Center, Drayson, the ribbon cutting was held today. Tons of people turned out, and this building means everything to Dixie State University. The students, the student athletes, athletics as well as women's swimming has their own home, Olympic-sized pool now, and we've seen it. It is spectacular. We caught up with Dixie State Athletics Director Dr. Jason Booth the other day just to get his thoughts on what this building really means to Dixie State and to its student athletes and to the athletic program. Here's what he had to say to us when we chatted with him the other day.
Our swim team more than deserves this. With our move to Division I and whatnot, it's very fitting that they have a first-class, world-class facility to compete in. I mean, the benefits are just through the roof. Having their own facility, their own locker room, and it being such a world-class, high-class facility, it's It's going to help recruiting. It's going to help so many facets of that program, and we're just so excited to let them use it. We'll be able to host regular season meets here, and beyond that, we have the capacity to host incredible events here for the community at all ages, from youth to high school to master's level. The Huntsman Senior Games, kind of level stuff. So this pool, being the only Olympic-sized pool south of Provo with seating, it's in high demand, and it's going to be a phenomenal facility. So we'll get a lot of amazing events in here. I think really the big benefit to athletics will be just the benefit to all students. That having a facility like this, I don't understand any prospective student that looks at Dixie State why they wouldn't want to come here for many, many reasons. Now this building is just another reason why why wouldn't you want to come here to enjoy this building on a daily basis, from not only the classrooms but the workout facilities, the basketball courts, the track, and now this pool. It's phenomenal. So the growth and development of the university is only going to help the athletic department grow and flourish and become a strong Division I program over the years. So it's a win-win situation for everyone: the university, the community, the athletic department, the students here. The impact of this building, we can't even begin to measure until we get into it a few years down the road and really see its true benefit. But it's gonna be huge.
That's Dr. Jason Booth, Dixie State Director of Athletics, talking about the Human Performance Center, an absolute game changer for athletics and for this campus. Awesome to have it open. By the way, tomorrow, throughout the day, members of the community can just come and use the facility as well. Spectacular facility. Like I said, game changer for Dixie State University. Let's continue on in our Blazer beat. Drayson, basketball got started. Let's talk about men's basketball first. They headed up to Salt Lake City.
Trailblazers played up in Westminster, hosted a tournament there, and they came home with 2 victories, beating Texas A&M Commerce on Friday, 71-66. And then, of course, we talked a little bit about the game against UT Tyler. They won that game in overtime, 100-91. Jack Pagenkoff recorded Dixie State's first triple-double, 17 points, 13 rebounds, 10 assists. Also hit the game-tying three-pointer to send that one into overtime. But the Trailblazers, like I said, got 2 victories over the weekend. Hunter Schofield was really big in those key victories. He scored in bunches in both of those games. He's averaging 21 points per game through the first 2 games of the season. That's going to be one of the really big keys, and we've talked about it before. Carrick, you and I have talked about this, about where the scoring is going to come for this Trailblazer offense. If you go back and look at the stats from last year's men's basketball team, all 4 of the top scorers in that team are either graduated or decided not to continue their basketball careers. Matt Conway, Austin Montgomery, Julian Decree, Dub Price, all 4 of those were the leading scorers last season. Matt Conway at 17 points per game, Austin Montgomery at 10 points per game, Decree at 9.6, and Dub Price at 8.7 points per game. So they lost all that production offensively, and Hunter Schofield, the transfer, has been able to kind of step up and maybe take that leading role. And I think he was one of the key names that we mentioned last week on the show in kind of our preview segment. And I think one of the names that you're going to be hearing a lot of throughout the season, Hunter Schofield, averaging 21 points per game in those first 2 games of the season. This is going to be one of the main things we talk about all season long, but also how are they going to defend? They played very, very well defensively, and I think at times they were able to control the game with their defense. This men's basketball team going to get things continue to roll with their home slate opening up this weekend as they host a tournament out of their own, and they're going to be able to play back-to-back games.
Good stuff there. That's men's basketball. How about women's basketball? We'll stay on the hardwood. I'll handle the women's basketball. The Trailblazers headed to Texas to take on, interestingly enough, both men's and women's basketball teams played teams from Texas. The men were up in Salt Lake City, but the men traveled down to Wichita Falls, Texas. The host was Midwestern State, and both teams played UT Tyler, played University of Texas at Tyler. And the Trailblazers women's basketball team took on UT Tyler on Friday. And we've talked about this women's team. And also about there's so many new faces. You've got major returners and Allie Franks, Kesley Stevenson, Maddie Loftus is back, but there's so many new faces, and we talked about it last week, and lots of talented freshmen, and a transfer in Ashley Greenwood, who's coming down from BYU, who signed at a Division I out of high school, and she's that talented. How will this team mesh together? How will they be? Well, it was back and forth first half. Dixie State only led, I think it was 29-27 at the end of the first half against UT Tyler on Friday. And then how about this? They come out outscoring the Patriots 46-14 in the second half to win 75-41 on Friday. Allie Franks led all scorers. She had 19 points, 19 points. Kesley Stevenson with 11 points, and then Chesney Stevens, one of the new players, she had 9. Dixie State in the game on Friday hit 10 threes, 10 of 27. They were also 11 of 11 from the charity stripe. Fast forward to Saturday. From there, Dixie State falls 73-63 in what was just a 3-point game going into the fourth quarter. Dixie State was outscored 20-13 in the fourth to lose 73-63. Here's your major differences. I mentioned they made 10 3-pointers Friday night. Dixie State Saturday night just 3 of 18 from beyond the arc, and then 18 of 30 from the free throw line, left 12 points at the free throw line in a 12-point loss as well. This Dixie State team, as the buzzer sounds on me, that's our first buzzer of Blazer Beat. Dixie State team we've known is kind of a live or die, kind of a team that thrives on the three-point shot. It was not there Friday night, or Saturday night.
No doubt about it. Let's move on to volleyball as the Trailblazers. Funny story with the volleyball team. You and I were on the same flight as the volleyball team coming back from Colorado.
We were flying home, and it was like, who flies from Denver to St. George on a Sunday morning? Well,
the volleyball team coming back from their two road game trip to Regis and to Colorado Christian over the weekend. Number 9 Regis, a volleyball team that's really, really good. A great volleyball team, and throughout the season they have proven that they are one of the best in the conference, and they handle the Trailblazers pretty easily in 3 sets. But the Trailblazers did rebound to defeat Colorado Christian in 4 sets the following night in Denver. And, they played very, very well. They played very excellently, against Regis, a team that's very, very good, like I mentioned before. And good on the volleyball team for not letting that defeat carry into the next day over Colorado Christian. They handled business there, which was important. Not only that, but for the RMAC standings to kind of stay where they are in third place against the Colorado Christian. Like I mentioned, they won the first set and dropped the second set. Colorado Christian came out insanely on fire in that second set, had a 346 hitting percentage in that second set. They won that one 25-20, and then the Trailblazers held them to a negative hitting percentage in the third set, and then a .071 hitting percentage in that fourth set. They won the third set 25-12, and then 25-20 in that fourth set to clinch the 4-set victory. The volleyball team, like I mentioned, in third place right now in the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference standings. That's important because the top 4 teams host quarterfinal matchups, and the Trailblazers right now sitting in that third spot where they would host a quarterfinal matchup. They do play Westminster. They have one more game. They could potentially go down to the 4th spot and be in a worse position seeding rank, because if you're in the 4th spot and you win your quarterfinal matchup, you have to play Regis in the second round, assuming they move on. They're in that 3rd spot right now. They play Westminster on Friday. Should be able to handle that game. They're just 2-15 on the season.
That is volleyball. Let's continue on in our Blazer Beat. Let's talk about cross country. The men's and women's cross country teams headed to Canyon, Texas. It was hosted by West Texas A&M for the NCAA Division II South Central Regionals. And this is a cross country team this year that has been getting better and better each week. Records being set each time they compete, both individually, both team records, and it's fitting that they would continue that trend at the NCAA Division II South Central Regionals. Both teams record their best team regional finish in program history of the D2 era. The women finish in the top 10 in the region, finishing 8th. The men finish in the top 15, finishing in 14th. Again, that is the best finish that both teams have had in the NCAA Division II era at the regional championships. So just keep that in mind. The women's team finishing with a total time of 1:58.16 in the 6K race, and continuing to be led by the junior Billy Hatch, pacing the Trailblazers. She goes top 10 individually, and with a 9th place finish to earn her 2nd consecutive All-Region award, as well as clinch her second consecutive trip to the NCAA Division II National Championships. That's coming up in a couple of weeks in Sacramento, I should add, a course that they previewed a couple of weeks ago at a meet, and Billy ran very exceptionally on that course, so expect big things from Billy in a couple of weeks at the NCAA Division II National Championships. The men, again, placing 14th as a team, posting a total team time of 2:49.37 in the 10K race. Remember, we had freshman Kyler Miller on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he said the difference between high school and college is the races are longer. This was his first collegiate 10K race, and he records still the best time for the men. In fact, the best individual finish at a regional in that men's cross-country program. Congratulations to him. He crosses the line in 28th place with a time of 32:35.76. Neither team qualified for the regionals, or for the championships, but Billy Hatch, for the second consecutive year, is headed back to the NCAA Division II National Championships.
Good stuff from cross country. Let's keep it moving with women's soccer. We talked a little bit about this in our weekend observations. And Carrick, I had to pull you off your soapbox for just a little bit.
I'm still on the soapbox.
And hopefully I can talk for long enough to not allow you to have any more time in my segment about the penalty kicks. But the Trailblazers do fall to 6th-seeded MSU Denver in penalty kicks. And, you know, really, when the Trailblazers women's soccer team look back on this matchup, they're just going to look at missed opportunities. Forget the penalty kicks. Obviously, you lost the penalty kicks. That's heartbreaking. That's devastating. But besides the penalty kicks, you had opportunities that they wish they would have had back and to be able to capitalize on. The numbers, Dixie State outshot MSU Denver 17-7 throughout the game. In fact, Dixie State had 7 shots on goal. MSU Denver had 7 total shots of any kind. And so that's one of the biggest things they're going to look back on and wish they had back. Denver did not have a single shot in the second half of that game. Let me say that again. MSU Denver went the entire second half, 45 minutes of game time, and did not have a shot. Not a shot on goal, a shot. That's how good the Dixie State defense was in the second half. And they had missed opportunities there where they had a couple opportunities to score goals in that second half and not even have to go into overtime, let alone penalty kicks. But they just had a few missed opportunities. You know, we talked about the penalty kicks. They were tied at 3-3 apiece. Each woman made their penalty kick on their first try through the first three series of penalty kicks, and the Trailblazers missed. On the fourth penalty kick, MSU Denver did not score a goal. Same thing with the Trailblazers on their fourth kick. MSU Denver scored on their fifth, and then Whitley Johns, it was saved on that fifth and final penalty kick, and they ended up losing 1-1 in penalty kicks. So, 1-1 is the final score, but 4-3 in penalty kicks. Like I mentioned, missed opportunities. The good news for them, however, is they are still ranked number 5 in the region rankings, which is crucial for them. If they stay in that position, they will be selected to go on to the postseason tournament after that, despite the loss.
Absolutely incredible stuff from the Blazer Beat. Need to mention also men's soccer. Their season coming to an end. They fall 6-0 against Colorado School of Mines in the RMAC semifinals. Great season for the Trailblazers. They earned their first ever postseason victory with a 1-0 win last Thursday over Westminster College, and I think it was fitting that the person who scored the game-winning goal was Moises Medina in the 83rd minute, a screamer from 31 yards out to win that game. The Trailblazers finished their season 11-8-1 overall. Coach Brown has this program exactly where it needs to be to continue to grow as they transition to Division I. Congrats on the men's soccer team for getting their first postseason win and for having a great season. A lot of stuff we had to cover today in the Blazer Beat. Of course, crossover season is almost over, so we won't have as much going forward, but good stuff going on inside Trailblazer Athletics. And one of those things is that Jack Pagankoff had the first triple-double in the history of Dixie State basketball in the Division II era, and he joins us next on Trailblazer Weekly to break it all down, to talk about the triple-double. We'll also have to ask him in this next segment about this year's team. A lot of new faces. How are they coming together? How is that team chemistry? We'll talk about all that stuff with Jack Pagankoff coming up next on Trailblazer Weekly.
We may have started out small, but we were great. families and fans rallied behind their team. The community cared, and everyone showed up to cheer. Now we're bigger than ever. Dixie State is going to Division I.
Here we go in transition, and he throws it down with one hand. Lobs. Catch me. Touchdown, Trailblazer.
But at the end of the day, it's the community and fans that make us great. Whether you give $5 or $1,000, every dollar, every seat in the stands, every one of you can help blaze our trail to Division I athletics. Because this is our team.
When I was your age, I was just like you, fascinated by stars. But now I get to search for life in the universe. And who knows, maybe life is looking for us too.
So we're like aliens to them?
Yeah. Does anyone want to be a scientist now?
I do.
Awesome. We need more girls in STEM.
Maybe we can find aliens.
No, I'm not busy right now. Yeah, I can talk. We may not always play good, but when we want to look good, we come to the Dixie State campus store.
Located on the second floor of the Gardner Center. We'll see you there.
Welcome back inside Studio A. Trailblazer Weekly marches on this Wednesday afternoon, and we are talking basketball. To the hardwood we go. The ball is bouncing. You can hear the shoes squeaking inside the Burns Arena as the Trailblazers head up to Westminster College last weekend and get 2 wins, one of them a thrilling overtime victory to go 2-0 in the opening weekend. Joining us on the show today is a big part of that 2-0 start up in Salt Lake City. It's senior guard Jack Pagankoff. Jack, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us today. Lots of preparation going on for the home openers this weekend, but let's talk about last weekend. Again, thanks so much for being here, and we'll just dive right into it because it's the elephant in the room, and you're expecting us to bring it up anyway. On Saturday, you just, as the tweet said on the official Dixie Athletics account, you just messed around and went and got the first triple-double of the Division II era here at Dixie State. So congratulations. And, of course, anytime you talk about a triple-double, the first question is, did you know you were getting close? Did you know how many assists, how many rebounds? Take us through your mind as kind of the game's winding down, and then as you find out that you did indeed complete the triple-double.
Well, first off, thanks for having me on the show. And I knew I was kind of close. I was checking the stat sheet in the first half, so I knew I had like 5 assists, somewhere around the midpoint. I was like, there might be a chance where I can get 10 tonight. As far as rebounds, I felt like I was rebounding well. The night before, I think I had 11, so I was like, I'll probably be over 10 rebounds. But the assists were always like kind of like, I had 7 the night before, so I was like, yeah, maybe not. But then when it went into overtime, I was kind of like, yeah, there might be a chance for this.
So were you not sure until the game had actually ended, or did you got your 10th assist in overtime? I mean, did you know then when you dished that assist out that, hey, that's what I needed and we got it?
I didn't know it was that assist. I didn't know until I went to the locker room and my mom had texted me and was like, congrats on the triple-double. I was like, oh, I had a triple-double. And then Juddy told us after the game too. So that's when I really figured it out.
We're chatting with men's basketball senior guard Jack Pagankoff here at Trailblazer Weekly, and he just went out and got the first triple-double in the Dixie State NCAA Division II era against UT Tyler Saturday night. And of course, you get the points, you get the rebounds, you get the assists. You mentioned your rebounding. I just wanted to bring it up. It seemed like as I went back and I've watched some of that film, it was a lot of kind of catch-and-run rebounds almost, long rebounds, get those rebounds and then start racing back up the floor. And a lot of those plays, you had rebounds on one end and then you had assists or scored on the other end and just captaining and running that offense, and just talk about being involved in all facets of the game and not just scoring, but rebounding and getting others involved as well.
Yeah, well, I try to get the ball and just go immediately. So if I can rebound it, we don't waste time like getting the outlet pass or stuff like that. So it just puts more pressure on the defense if I can just immediately get it. Nobody's guarding me. I mean, if I got the rebound, nobody's on me, so I can just take it, go up the floor, and then usually 2 people have to come guard me, so then I can dish it off for an assist. So kind of 2 for 1 right there.
17 points, 10 assists, 13 rebounds in that victory this last weekend. Take me a little bit through. Obviously, you realized after the game in the locker room, you said Coach Judkins mentioned it, right? What was the reaction from your teammates? I mean, I'm sure there was a little bit of teasing, a little bit of excitement, a little bit of stuff like that going. What was kind of the reaction from your teammates as you found out that you got the triple-double?
I think they were as surprised as I was, but they were happy for me. They were like, they weren't teasing me too much, but it was kind of fun. They were like, oh, you got triple-double, stuff like that. But I think they were happy we just won overtime game.
And that's what I was just going to say. I mean, obviously, you're excited about the stats of the triple-double, and that's obviously exciting and a tremendous accomplishment. But you, I'm sure, would take the 2 wins over anything else, and you get the wins over Texas A&M Commerce, 71-66, and then, of course, over UT Tyler in overtime, 100-91. You start the season 2-0. How is it just to get off to a good start in the season? Obviously, you go up there, you get a couple of good wins. A team that's got a lot of different faces, a lot of new people, a lot of different parts, and things like that. As you kind of learn together and build chemistry, just how good of a feeling is it to know that you got the first 2 wins under your belt in the first two games of the season?
2-0 is huge, because if we're sitting here at 1-1, we'd feel completely different right now. 500 and undefeated are 2 different feelings, but. As far as like new players go, everybody's blended pretty well. I mean, we all get along, so that helps a lot when we're playing out there. It's just so much easier to figure out where everybody's at when you just like have a feel for people already. And I think we've meshed pretty well, especially with a close game like this. We didn't feel like we were disconnected at all. We were all on the same page, which if we weren't, I don't think we would have made it go into overtime or even won.
Chatting with Dixie State senior guard Jack Pagankoff, and go back to that Saturday game that you had the triple-double in. There's another big part of that game. You went 1 for 4 from beyond the arc in that game, and the 1 3-point shot that you hit was a pretty important one. It was a game that, and I was talking to Coach Judkins a couple of days ago as well, and he said, it's kind of interesting because we felt like we probably could and should have lost Friday night, and then we definitely felt like we should have won the game Saturday night, and then that one got away from us in the second half, and you guys had to come back and force overtime. You're down 3. There's under 10 seconds to go. You're walking the ball up the floor, and you hit the game-tying 3-pointer to send it to overtime. Walk us through that play. What's going through your mind? I mean, was that the design? Because you put that 3 up with a good 4 or 5 seconds still on the clock. Is that what I don't know if it was at a timeout or what it was out of. Was that what was drawn up, or did you just see some opening and thought, hey, I can knock this thing down?
So it wasn't drawn up at all. What we were going to do is we were going to have Hunter Schofield come set like a high ball screen. I was going to come off of it and then look to either get to the rim or shoot a 3 if I had an open 3. Because there were 10 seconds left, we could have fouled if I had gotten a 2. But the kid who was shooting free throws at the other end made the first one, but it wasn't very confident. So when he missed the second one, I think I was talking to Andre. He was like, I thought he was going to miss the second one because the first one looked shaky. When he missed the second one, we were only down 3. I was like, all right, we can tie it up with a 3, or I can go for a 2, but if there's not much time left and we're down 1, it might be risky. So I kind of decided, I was like, I'm probably going to shoot a 3 coming down. And then I saw the guy guarding me he was going to switch the screen because he had looked away from me. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to pull up because nobody's guarding me here. So it was a little deep, but
that was my next question. It was, I think, again, we're going back to that Twitter account. Drayson and I were in the Denver area over in Golden for the football game Saturday night, and so we were just following as best we could, trying to watch the stream and watching the Twitter updates as they came along. And that's what the Twitter update said, was that Jack Pagankoff hit a NBA range 3 to send the game to overtime. I mean, when you're shooting those 3s, are you thinking, oh, I'm out here pretty deep, or you're just thinking, I've got some space, I've got enough time and enough space to get this 3 up?
Well, the deeper I am, the less I think about it, because I'm like, I got to get it up and I got to get it out to the rim. So I just kind of, I just like got my legs under me, and I was in rhythm too. So when you're in rhythm, you don't think about it too much. And at the end of the game, I was kind of in the zone.
Now, obviously, you get the 2 wins under your belt on the road up there in Salt Lake City over the weekend, and now you turn things right around and come back this weekend and host your own tournament of your own here in the Burns Arena in Dixie State. What's it like just kind of being able to say, hey, we got those 2 wins, and now the season moves forward? Obviously, you're not in RMAC play yet, but still got a lot to tune up as far as the season goes. What's it going to be like to come home and get your first couple of games with this home crowd under you?
I think it's going to be good being at home. We won 2 tough ones on the road, and it's harder to win on the road. So if we're in a tight situation at the Burns, I think it'll be easier to pull it out on our home floor. We're all more familiar with shooting there. So I think it's going to be fun. But it'll still be a challenge. And
one of the things I mentioned that I wanted to kind of touch back on is that a team with some new faces, and then obviously you're a senior leader of that team, and just talk a little bit about how you guys are being able to develop chemistry. Talk a little bit about Coach John Judkins, because he's done this for up to an amount of years and is able to put a competitive product on the field year in and year out. I guess I should say the court, not the field, but he puts a competitive team on the court every single season, regardless of who he has. So talk a little bit about what he's been able to do for these newer guys, these newer faces, some of these guys that have not played for him. What's he been able to do for this team so far?
Juddy's been really good. I think with all the guys coming in, I was like them last year. It was my first year. So the stuff he puts in, he makes it kind of simple to figure out at first. So it's not like you just get hit with a bunch of like stuff that you got to remember, and then you don't know what, you can't focus. He makes it simple at first, and we start adding stuff on, so it all makes sense when it comes together. And I think that's huge, especially for new guys, because now you're not overwhelmed with remembering like a ton of sets or out of bounds plays or stuff like that, because we switch up defenses all the time. You don't have to worry about remembering them, because he just puts them in such a way that it just all makes sense. The next layer's on top of it, and it just layers up until the end of the year. You're like, how do I know all these things without even having to think about it? So, and he makes practice competitive too. So if practice wasn't as competitive as it has been, I don't know if we would have been as good in these games, because down to the wire, you got to really compete.
He is Dixie State senior guard Jack Pagankoff, and he's joining us after a triple-double, the first triple-double in the NCAA Division II era for this men's basketball program. Dixie State goes 2-0. And then, by the way, Jack Pagankoff yesterday named RMAC Offensive Player of the Week. So congratulations about that, Jack. Let's continue to chat here about this year's team. Obviously, some seniors graduate. They finished their eligibility. A couple of guys that were going to be key returners for one reason or the other. They decide that there's more to life than just basketball, and you credit them for that, because it certainly is that way. And next thing you know, you've got 8 or 9 or close to 10 new guys coming in this year. What's the dynamic been through the first, through the conditioning, through the first couple of weeks of practice, up through the first couple of games, just trying to get used to each other and trying to get comfortable and build that chemistry out on the floor with this new team this year?
The dynamic, it's actually been really good. It's been smooth for a new team like this. I think coming in, especially in preseason conditioning, everybody got the mindset of you have to work hard. You're going to get left behind if you don't. So once everybody was on the same page as far as that, it just made it so much easier to really get into the flow of playing games, because everybody's working towards the same thing. It's kind of hard to not figure it out at a certain point. And I think it's still early, but we've definitely started to figure it out, especially this weekend. It felt like we were figuring it out.
Of course, if there's one coach and coaching staff that can do it, it's head coach John Judkins. He's done this a number of times. It seems like there's really no rebuilding years. It's just reload and let's go and let's battle for the conference title. Jack, I want to talk about you a little bit. You're senior, obviously. This is your senior year. Hometown of Brooklyn, New York. You played junior college ball in Texas. High school ball in Kansas City. I think a question that we have, and then probably a lot of people when they come watch and see you play and they're looking at that program and that roster, is they see hometown of Brooklyn, New York, and they say, how does this kid end up at Dixie State, way out west? So that's the question. How do you end up at Dixie State? What's that story? And what made you want to come here and be a Trailblazer?
So pretty much, it's not a crazy story or anything. Assistant coach here last year, Jeremiah Barnes, was recruiting me out of Howard in Texas, And it seemed like I talked to him almost every day. He was calling me, so I developed a good relationship with him. And he kind of told me about like the type of coaching staff they had here, and they were similar towards like the way he treated players and like how he coached players, and it just seemed like something I want to be a part of. I mean, he's not here now, but it's still the same way, still the same type of culture. So I'm glad I came out here. I think it was the right decision.
Speaking with senior guard Jack Pagenkoff of the men's basketball team as we continue live on a Wednesday afternoon. And, Jack, let's talk a little bit about some of your personal goals and in conjunction with some of the team goals you guys have for this season. Obviously, the last season in Division II and last season in the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference. And I know that won't necessarily affect you past this year being a senior, but, we've talked to a lot of student athletes on this show, a lot of coaches on this show, and some of them upperclassmen, some of them underclassmen, and the seniors are in the boat, much like you, of saying, hey, I got one more year. It doesn't matter. Division I doesn't matter to me because I won't be around to see that. And so this is your kind of send out. What some of your kind of goals as a team? Obviously, you want to be able to win the RMAC, but what are you going to try to be able to do to accomplish your goals this season and the team goals as well?
I think we all want to win the RMAC. We want to win the RMAC tournament too if we can, especially if we can host it, and then make a push in the tournament. As far as my goals for doing that, I just want to be able to run the team, be a good point guard. So we're all on the same page so we can win close games like we did this weekend, because there's going to be a lot of close games playing back-to-backs. So I think if I can keep doing that, keep getting everybody on the same page and spreading the ball around, we're going to be fine.
The Dixie State men's basketball team picked to finish second in their Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference preseason poll, and joined by Jack Pagenkoff, senior guard of that men's basketball team. Got just about a minute left. We always like to do this with a quick little send-off for our student athletes. Do a little rapid-fire segment real quick. Nothing too difficult, but we always want to ask, is there a player, like maybe a pro player, college player in your lifetime that you've kind of maybe modeled your game after, maybe a favorite player in the NBA or college or otherwise that you've kind of modeled your game after?
Favorite player's got to be Kobe.
Okay, Kobe Bryant.
Yeah,
right. Good one. He's pretty good.
He's pretty good. he's okay. Favorite basketball team?
The Lakers.
The Lakers, of course, obviously, the Lakers. And then a favorite venue or arena that you either played a game in or attended a game, watched a game in.
Oh, I've never been to the Staples Center. Okay. I went to the old Nets Arena out in New Jersey. That was cool. Nobody plays in there anymore, though. Let's see, the United Center. I'd have to say the United Center in Chicago.
That's good.
Right on. Pretty remarkable.
Good answer. So, you're a Lakers fan. Is this the year? Is this the year they're going to win it all?
I don't know.
Too early to tell.
I hope, but I'm not sold.
I mean, the trophy's coming back to Los Angeles one way or the other, right? I mean,
that might be true.
That might be true. Whether it be the Lakers or the Clippers,
Salt Lake City.
Be, well,
come on, let's go. We're gonna hang a banner this year.
That's what I'm hoping for, but you never know.
I mean, up north too. We're hanging one in St. George for sure.
Right.
He is senior guard Jack Pagenkoff, and first triple-double in men's basketball Division II era here at Dixie State, and the RMAC Offensive Player of the Week as the Trailblazers 2-0 get set to host a couple of games this weekend in the Burns Arena. So come see us Friday and Saturday, an opportunity to see the Trailblazers in action for the first time this season. We have got a lot more to get to on today's show, and we are going to take a break. When we come back, we continue to look at the football game and take a look around campus and what's going on inside Trailblazer Athletics as the Trailblazers have their senior day game for football against Adams State this weekend, and then a ton of basketball as well. We'll continue to break it all down coming up next on Trailblazer Weekly. Welcome back inside Studio A. Trailblazer Weekly marches on this Wednesday afternoon, and we are talking basketball.
There is a place where the sun doesn't hide in the winter, where the greens stay green and the crimson canyons still glow. There is a place where dimples determine destiny, and a tiny wooden tee holds the outcome in the balance. There is a place where we drive for show, putt for dough, and settle the score with another round. There is a place.
Radio Dixie 91.3. We don't play that. Nope, not that. A big fat no there. That's what we play. And stuff like that. on St. George's only alternative, Radio Dixie 91.3. Oh, and from 9 till midnight, we play this.
I need a one dance.
And this. Radio Dixie 91.3 FM.
I got you right where I want you. I make this one. It's over. I win.
No pressure. Bring it.
We may not always play good, but when we want to look good, we come to the Dixie State Campus Store.
Located on the second floor of the Gardner Center. We'll see you there.
Today's show is brought to you by Honolulu Grill, bringing you a variety of Hawaiian and other Polynesian foods. Honolulu Grill's unique tropical taste will leave your mouth watering for more. Located at 706 700 South in St. George. Honolulu Grill. Come feast with us.
Welcome back inside Trailblazer Weekly one final time. We just want to give a shout out to all of our sponsors and to our guests today on the show. I want to thank Dwan Dantzler and Jack Pagankoff for joining us on the show. And I mention it every time they're on, but it's they have busy schedules, these student athletes do, and they're working around practice and they're working around meetings and things to be here. So we appreciate them being with us. Great interviews, great stuff today with Dwan Dantzler and with Jack Pagankoff. Of course, the Trailblazers, the football team, will host Adams State at 12 o'clock, at 12 noon on Saturday. 11:30 pregame right here on these very channels and radio stations. Drayson and I will be on the call as Dixie State tries to go for a record 8th win on Saturday. The men's and women's basketball team are home. The women's team will play a pair of NAIA schools in La Sierra on Friday and Life Pacific on Saturday. But I've looked at both of these teams, very talented teams. We'll have those games for you on the Dixie State Stretch internet portal. And then the men's basketball team will play against Providence at an NAIA school Friday night, and then St. Martin's Saturday night, and that will be a very good matchup. That's a St. Martin's team that Dixie State went up to the state of Washington last year and played against St. Martin's, and Dixie State was kind of run out of the gym in that game. St. Martin's could not miss, and the Trailblazers will have their chance to serve up a cold plate of revenge in that game, try to win inside the Burns Arena. But tons of basketball. There will be two other men's basketball teams here as well, so we'll have basketball games, ton on Friday, ton of basketball games Saturday, and then, of course, football on Saturday. Should also mention, too, women's swimming hosting a dual meet against Biola Saturday morning at the Human Performance Center, the first meet held inside the HPC.
Make sure to follow us on all of our social media channels at Carrick Segmiller, at Drayson_DSU, at DSU Blazer Weekly on Instagram, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as well. Make sure you don't miss out on any of the stuff we put out there on those social media channels. And a jam-packed weekend. I cannot wait to get it started.
Remember, you can keep up with all the Dixie State news headlines at DixieStateAthletics.com. Big shout-out to our Radio Dixie 91.3 crew, as well as our CEC TV crew for getting us on the air, keeping us on the air throughout today's show. We appreciate you tuning in, whether you're listening or you're watching. This has been another edition of Trailblazer Weekly. This was episode 14. Next week, it's episode 15. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next week. Go Trailblazers.